San Francisco, tech hub, progressive paradise, and, well, let's be honest, also dealing with some major issues, right? Homelessness, property crime. It's a city of contrast.
And leading the city through all of this is Mayor London Breed. She's shown that you don't necessarily have to solve the big problems to stay in power. So how's she doing it?
Well, one of the biggest things is adaptability, reading the room and, shifting with the political winds.
So less about conviction, more about convenience.
You could say that. Take 2020, for example. Remember the George Floyd protests? Calls for police reform everywhere. Breed made a big splash by reallocating $120 million from the police budget to this thing called the Dream Keeper Initiative, supposed to address racial inequity.
Right. I remember that. Big move. Got a lot of praise, but also some pushback, right? People saying that money was better spent on law enforcement, especially with crime rates already a concern.
Exactly. By late 2021, crime rates were a major issue for San Franciscans, and Breed, she did a complete 180. Increased the police budget to a record high, $821.6 million by 2023.
Talk about a turnaround. But what about when things get messy?
In 2021, Mayor Breed, she found herself in some hot water with, some serious ethics violations.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Something to do with Mohammed Nuru, right? Public Works guy. Wasn't he caught up in that whole corruption thing?
Exactly. Breed had accepted some gifts from Nero, unreported gifts, while he was actually under FBI investigation.
Not great.
No, not at all. And then she kind of made things worse. Instead of backing down, she basically went on the offensive, proposed cuts to the Ethics Commission.
Wait, hold on. She wanted to defund the very group that had just fined her. That's bold.
The message was clear. Don't mess with me. We see it a lot in politics, especially when a politician feels untouchable. And Breed, well, part of her confidence might come from having some pretty powerful friends.
You're talking about her campaign donors, right?
Bingo. Campaigns cost money, lots of it. And if you want to stay in power, well, you need those deep pockets backing you up. And let's just say Mayor Breed, she's got some big names on her side.
Okay, spill the tea.
All right, so Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, billionaire, you know him, he dropped a cool $1.2 million into her campaign. And Chris Larson, the crypto guy, he threw in a hefty $400,000.
Dang.
That kind of money gets you influence, access, and a whole lot of leeway when it comes to weathering criticism, even scandals. But it's not just about the money. You also got to know how to play the game, Frame your accomplishments, especially when it comes to those big, messy issues.
And you can't talk about San Francisco without talking about homelessness. That's a big one. So how does she handle that?
Ah, yes. Homelessness. A complex issue with, let's be honest, no easy answers. But Breed, she's managed to navigate it, politically speaking, by focusing on a very specific part of the problem.
Oh, like what?
Family homelessness.
Okay. But why that specifically?
Because, think about it, it's a smaller problem within a larger problem, more manageable, and frankly, people are more likely to be sympathetic to families. By focusing on them, she can present herself as a compassionate leader, tackling something that seems solvable.
And that plays well with voters, right?
Exactly. In January of 2024, the city rolled out these new methods to identify homeless families.
What happened?
Reported family homelessness jumped by 90%.
Wow, 90%. That's a huge increase.
It is. And right as these numbers were coming out, Breed, she announces her Safer Families plan. $50.4 million, bam, to get families off the streets quickly.
So it looks like she's actually doing something about it, right?
That's the narrative, isn't it? And to make it even stronger, she throws her support behind this Proposition B, a bond measure for new shelters for families. That's on the ballot this November. It's a way to show you're taking action on a very visible problem. But here's where things get interesting. According to the latest count, there were only 13 families, that's about 27 people, actually living on the streets. Less than 1% of San Francisco's homeless population.
Wait, seriously. All this focus on family homelessness, the money, the headlines, it's all for, a tiny fraction of the actual problem.
That's right. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this really about helping families, or is it about focusing on something that sounds good, something voters can get behind, while avoiding the bigger, much harder issue of overall homelessness?
So she's found a way to address a problem, one that people really care about, without actually having to deal with the whole massive issue of homelessness itself.
It's one way to look at it, yeah. And it kind of shows a pattern with Breed, don't you think?
How so?
Well, it's all about holding on to power, right? Even if it means bending the rules a little, maybe sidestepping some norms along the way.
You mentioned earlier she had some other ethics issues. Anything else come to mind?
Oh yeah, there's more. Let's rewind. Back to 2015. Breed was running for re-election to the Board of Supervisors, wanted to make a splash in the Pride Parade, so she's putting together a float.
Okay, pretty standard politician move.
Sure, sure. But here's the thing. She asks these two restaurant owners to each chip in $1,250, right? But the money goes directly to the float company.
And that was a problem because
For a couple reasons. One, it wasn't reported properly, like in her campaign finance stuff. And two, it went over the limit, the $500 per person contribution limit.
so some campaign finance violations, that's not exactly unheard of in politics, is it?
True, but it shows you she's willing to, play a little loose with the rules, even for something like a parade float. And then there's the whole thing with her brother.
This is where it gets juicy, right?
And you could say that. So in 2018, Breed, she writes this letter to the governor at the time, Jerry Brown, asking for her brother to be released early from prison. He was serving 44 years for manslaughter.
44 years, that's serious.
Yeah, no joke. And she uses official letterhead with her title mayor on it.
So she's using her position to try to influence, like, a legal case for her own family.
Seems that way, right? The
Yeah.
Ethics Commission, they weren't too happy about it. Another violation.
There's definitely a pattern here.
But here's the thing. Scandals, ethics violations, none of it seems to stick.
So how does she do it? How does she come out on top time after time?
Well, we've talked about it, haven't we? She knows how to adapt. She's got powerful friends with deep pockets, and she knows how to work an issue, make it resonate with the voters. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is focusing on what's easy, what gets you votes, enough? Or does it mean we never really solve the big problems?